I am the legendary Zorawar Fort, and I welcome you all to Ladakh, the land of endless discoveries. I've been witness to the saga and legend of those glorious days, and also to the numerous changes which have taken place since then. I'm happy to have the pleasure of your company here today.
Hey guys, I just heard someone speaking. Did I imagine it? Or was it seriously the fort speaking? It was actually the fort speaking. Good evening. Good evening, sir. All of us sitting here are tourists who are visiting Leh. Can you tell us something about yourself? Like your history, your background?
I am the relic of a bygone era, an old mud fort, and I still live to narrate the story of a gallant time when a conqueror and a mighty warrior, General Zorawar Singh, ascended these daunting mountains to leave behind the legacy of breathtaking heroism. It was in the spring of 1835 that he marched with his victorious army to Leh.
Wow, that's quite an amazing feat. It's so windy and cold here. I simply wonder, how have you survived for almost 200 years in such harsh weather? And still, you look so magnificent and different from your surroundings.
Ha 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 ha! Yes, I have witnessed soothing snowflakes to terrible blizzards, light cold breeze to the tempest of sandstorms, charismatic dawn to scorching sun, light drizzles to disastrous cloudbursts. And here I stand, strong and majestic. It was in the year 1836 that General Zorawar Singh laid my foundation personally and supervised my construction. And that's the reason I do not bear resemblance to any traditional Ladakhi buildings around me. It was within my four walls that General Zorawar Singh trained his army and planned the conquests of Ladakh, Baltistan and Tibet. Today, I am a national monument, proudly maintained by the Fire and Fury Corps on behalf of the Indian Army. And that is the reason I still look so alive and vibrant.
Well, I must say you look absolutely splendid and captivating. Please tell us something more about yourself.
Oh, why not? I was built on a high ground with a perimeter moat and a wall around me from the parched Ladakh earth. Come, let me show you around the fort.
Hi, I am a 50-year-old juniper tree. Now you can see only half of my trunk, but there was a time when I was tall and upright with many branches. During my heydays, I have been witness to visitors visiting the fort, resting under my shade, appreciating the origin of this fort and the awe-inspiring landscapes of this region.
I am the museum. Presently, I am housing the artifacts of that era. But there was a time I used to be the barrack for 300 warriors of General Zorawar's army. I have been witness to their battle-hardened faces after successful conquests when they came back for rest and recoup. I still remember their exciting voices when they used to get ready for expeditions. Today, I miss their impressive military uniforms on my walls, as also their longing to meet their near and dear ones who are so far away.
Could you kindly tell me, How did you keep a vigil on the intruders and the enemies?
I am the Dokana, where you can see the display of weapons being used by soldiers during those days. At that time, there was a brass gun mounted at the gumbat of the fort, which the enemy used to dread. I used to store the complete ammunition and all the weapons of the soldiers guarding the garrison. Hey, look here! We are the three gumbas overlooking the hustling and bustling city which has come around us. There was a time when soldiers stood guard on my ramparts and kept a watchful eye on the intruders and enemies. The beautiful Mandalay flags fluttering in the background gave the soldiers courage and motivation to guard the garrison. I also heard the war cries of soldiers, the neighing of the horses when they marched for and returned from expeditions. I distinctly remember the soldiers coming back battle fatigued and wounded, but always with their head high with pride and glory.
I am the horse stable. Though the horses are no longer being used in battle, there was a time when horses used to be the tanks of the battlefield and provided mobility and agility to the soldiers. I feel proud to have housed the magnificent horse of General Zorawar Singh along with 300 other horses, always ready to march into the battle with the soldiers.
Wow, what a history. We never knew anything about all of this. Could you tell us from which part of India did the soldiers of General Zorawar's army come from?
We are the Mandir and Masjid of the garrison. General Zorawar's army had a mix of Sikh, Dogra and Muslim soldiers. These soldiers, irrespective of their religions, prayed for each other's well-being, long life, and also ate and fought together, a tradition which is followed by every soldier in the Indian Army even today.
Oh my God, there is so much history to this place. I really wish if we could know more about Ladakh and the conquest of General Zorawar Singh.
Well, take a breath. I'm happy to see your enthusiasm and interest in history. Granting you your wish, we will now tell you more about Ladakh, its picturesque landscapes, and the saga of the great warrior, General Zorawar Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this land of endless discoveries. The land whose tropical Buddhist culture has survived unchanged for the past 1,000 years. Despite raiders, plunderers, and indeed adventure seekers who have come here with varied interests and ambitions from both the Central Asia and the Tibet. Some of them even succeeded in leaving their footprints behind. The Ladakhis have always fiercely protected their land and culture while remaining happy and content with their daily lives, tending to their mountain goats and trading in Pashmina. Yes, this land has always been mysterious in more ways than one can imagine. Its rugged mountains, desert rocks and lakes, oases are simultaneously serene and daunting. Similar is the case with its weather and climate. When it is good, it is heavenly bliss, but when it worsens, cold waves can chill your spine. Often, one can experience all the seasons even in a single day. The hue of the surroundings changes every season, from stark nakedness to lush green, in well-orchestrated rhythm, year upon year. The scenery can change with the very angle of the rays of the sun and surprise the visitor by presenting a totally different texture every moment of the day of every season. Anointed with its soil, mixed with the blood and sweat of great warlords. I have been the witness to the saga of a great warrior who once traversed this land and single-handedly changed its destiny forever. I've been bathed by the enchanting breeze of the Himalayas and weathered by its harsh chill in the air. I am the Zorawar Fort. Born at this very place in 1836, I vividly recall the history of this land and welcome you all to rekindle the saga and legend of those glorious days once again. Yes, indeed, this beautiful land was brought into the folds of the Indian subcontinent by the great benefactor of the Sikh, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, through the bold and daring expeditions led by his general, Zorawar Fort. But before I take you into the history, let me first lead you through the geographical landmarks of this region. Ladakh is made up of Leh, Kargil, Nubra, Baltistan, Zanskar, and Lahore Spiti. It lies to the west of Tibet, bounded by daunting mountain ranges, the Great Himalayas in the southwest, and Karakoram Range beyond the Nubra Valley in the northeast. The mighty Indus is omnipresent, flowing between the Zanskar mountain range on its southern side and the Ladakh range on its northern side. Leh, its capital, is situated at 11,480 feet above sea level on the northern bank of the mighty Indus River at the crossroads of valleys. There is the Sulu Valley and the famous Kargil Hill feature in the west. The Turtuk and Nubra valleys descend to the north. Pangong Tso Lake and the plateau of Chumthang are located to the east, in the Neoma subdivision of Ladakh. The road to the famous tourism and adventure spot of Manali goes past the Sobori Lake towards the south. The Nubra Valley is popularly known as Ludumra, meaning Valley of Flowers. It has an average altitude of 10,000 feet above sea level. To reach Nubra Valley, one has to cross Kardonga, located at 18,380 feet altitude and is the highest motorable road in the world. Nubra Valley is famous for the double-humped camel, a legacy from the Central Asian trade caravans. Further upstream rests the Siachen Glacier, the famous Brokpur tribal community, believed to be descendants of the lost Aryan tribe, reside along the steep banks of the Indus River. While the terrain is certainly treacherous, the most ominous and portentous is the Ladakh weather. Temperatures in the region can reach -20 degrees and even lower in the higher reaches. The winds are strong and the weather changes quite unpredictably. All this makes mere survival a challenge by itself, more dreaded than fighting the enemy. To motivate men to follow into battle under such hazardous conditions is not for a faint-hearted leader. General Zorawar, the great warrior, was certainly courageous beyond exception. The history of Ladakh, of about a century before the advent of Zorawar on the scene in 1834, is replete with frequent invasions from outsiders and local battles between Ladakh and Baltistan chieftains. It was the order of those times to wrest territorial control by force, to expand trade and revenue. Invaders came in hordes to loot and plunder. First, it was the Afghans from the far west who took charge of the area, taking with them the Muslim religion. They were followed by the Europeans who brought in Christianity, though they could not make much impact. The Tibetans also made some incursion. Finally, the area reverted to the influence of the Balti. With them, Buddhism came back with greater acceptance. They also brought in the Balti language. Both the Balti and Buddhism have by and large become the most entwined in the culture of the region. All this was before Zorawar swept through these ranges with his Dogra and Sikh soldiers in 1834-80 and established a garrison of 300 soldiers in Mai Prescient in 1836-80. In 1803, at the early age of 17, in a twist of fate, young Zorawar Singh was spotted by Rana Jaswant Singh, a Jagirdar of Girihan, who was greatly impressed by his tall, imposing frame of 6 feet and 4 inches. Sensing a great future for the young Zorawar and himself, Jaswant Singh took him to Galihan, now known as Joda, near Jammu, and trained him to be a soldier. Zorawar then joined service under Gulab Singh Dogra, who initially employed him mostly for defending the forts to the north of Jammu. For some time, he also worked as an inspector of supplies, where he displayed his acumen for administration, effecting a saving in the scarce provisions for the garrisons. In 1820 AD, Gulab Singh captured Keshwar and was appointed governor of Keshwar by Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He in turn appointed Zorawar Singh to administer the new district, awarding him the title of Wazir. But Zorawar was a man of his own destiny. He harbored warlike ambitions of expansion of his jurisdiction. He led 4 perilous expeditions into Ladakh. In the summer of 1834, on sensing great internal unrest in Ladakh, he marched in with 5,000 soldiers from Keshwar. The bone-chilling sub-zero temperatures through harsh terrain would not deter him. He chose to march from southwest to northeast across the Zanskar range, crossing through the Sun Valley at 14,700 feet, covering a distance of 336 miles via Sur. His army had matchlocks, swords, and artillery pieces carried on mules. During an invasion, Zorawar Singh and his army had to face stiff resistance from Ladakhis, but the disciplined army under General Zorawar Singh conquered and annexed the territory. After fighting pitched battles at places such as Sanku, Lankatse, Kanse, Sot, and Bashkam, the invaders pushed on to Leh. The Ladakhi king, Serpal Namgyal, was made to pay war indemnity. This was the first foray of Zorawar in the series that were to follow into Ladakh. No sooner Zorawar returned, the king refused to pay the tribute to Gulab Singh. A rebellion started to brew. Zorawar Singh responded with due urgency and quickly mustered his troops. Winter had set in, but the rebellion had to be crushed. Crossing the Zanskar posed a momentous challenge, but Zorawar was not the one to be deterred. He advanced swiftly through the short but difficult Kishtwar-Zanskar route, traversing 275 grueling miles of treacherous terrain and reached near Leh in just 10 days, taking his vassals by surprise. He quelled the rebellion, deposed the old king, and appointed his prime minister and brother-in-law, Nagarab Stansen, as the new ruler of Ladakh. It was during this period in 1836 that Zorawar decided to build a fort at Leh, and I was born. The high ground where I stand now was selected. A perimeter moat and wall was built. A temple and a mosque were also constructed inside. Once I was ready, a massive celebration was held. Fireworks reverberated in Leh to mark the occasion. Zorawar had personally supervised my construction. That is why I do not bear any resemblance to the buildings in the area. My first floor was built to house the soldiers and officers. The second catered for the watchtowers, and the ground floor housed the ammunition, military stores, and pack animals. Soon, a vibrant city began to rise outside my perimeter, with the accompanying hustle and bustle. The locals were very happy, and many a tear was shed when Zorawar left to return to Jammu. But the Ladakhi chieftains were a stubborn lot, especially when it concerned their land and pride. Each time that Zorawar left Leh, they grew restless. This time again, rebellion grew under Nagarab's counsel.